Well, the Georgia Supreme Court heard arguments yesterday in a fight over whether Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis must testify before State Senate Committee.
Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis will testify before a panel of state senators investigating her now defunct election case against President Donald Trump.
If you start a prosecution and cause someone to spend a lot of money and then decide you shouldn't have prosecuted them in the first place, bingo, they're entitled to legal fees.
How much do you think the president will seek in reimbursement? We don't really know the numbers.
Probably $5 million plus.
And we're back, y'all. Thank you for watching today. Go ahead and hit that like button, my people. You know that it helps us out a ton. And of course, it helps you because it helps us keep bringing you these stories every day. Now, y'all, your girl, Fani Willis, it looks like she might be on the hook for up to $10 million or more. That's 10 millies, y'all. $10 million or more of legal fees for the Trump RICO defendants. Well, those who were the defendants, of course, you know that case has now been dismissed by a Fulton County judge, and they are gearing up to go after her for the legal fees. According to a law that was passed in the state of Georgia, they may be entitled to all of their legal fees back, y'all, which could be up to $10 million. Now, you saw in the coming up, you saw $5 million. But if you notice, that reporter asked, how much is Trump gonna go after? And that was Trump's attorney saying probably 5 millis. But there are 12, 13 other people who also, 12 or 13 other co-defendants who also have a claim to get their attorney's fees back, y'all. So this number is going to add up very quickly. We're gonna take a look at that. Also, your girl has been forced to submit, y'all. She's been running from testifying in front of a Georgia Senate hearing about her dirty deeds, about her chookiness and chookyhood with Nathan Wade, but she's submitting. She will be testifying in under a week if everything goes according to plan, unless she stiffs them, y'all, unless she tricks them. We'll talk about that here shortly, that Fani might be pulling a trick on them. She might be stiffing them, but if everything goes according to plan, she's gonna have to go and talk about her dirty deeds, y'all. So we're gonna talk about all of that today. You're gonna be totally caught up on your girl and how she's basically bankrupting her county with this, y'all. Her county could be bankrupt, y'all. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. But before we do, y'all, we are launching our official Patreon. So if you want to be a founding member on our Patreon, we have just 222 slots, y'all. If you want to be a founding member, go down, click the very first link in the description, and you're gonna feel good about this, y'all, because believe it or not, we are an actual paralegal school, and we help people get their paralegal certificate and get working in the paralegal field. And all of the proceeds from our Patreon, when you enroll as a founding member, all of that is gonna go to scholarships for people who would like to study at our institute, y'all. So click that first link down in the description. Join us as a founding member, y'all. This deal will not come back. Now let's get into the story.
Well, the Georgia Supreme Court heard arguments yesterday in a fight over whether Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis must testify before State Senate Committee. The committee is investigating how Willis used public funds during the 2020 election interference case involving President Donald Trump and others, a case she was later removed from. Willis argues the subpoena is unlawful, but a Fulton County judge has already ruled that the committee does have that authority. Her attorney, former Governor Roy Barnes, says the subpoena is now moot because the committee was from a previous legislative session. The court says it will have a resolution soon and wants an update by December 17th.
So y'all, just to give you a point of clarification, just rock with me for a second so you can totally understand. The Georgia Senate committee issued a subpoena. Fani resisted the subpoena. And then that particular Senate ended because they had elections and a new Senate took over, okay? So that particular Senate committee that issued the subpoena, it ended due to its time just being up. So then they had elections, the new Senate came in, and they reconvened the committee again, but it was made up of, let's say, a new legislative session. What's before the Supreme Court right now, that committee issued a new subpoena. So now there are two. The first one from the original Senate committee that has been essentially dissolved, and now a second one when they reconvened with the new legislative session, they reintroduced the subpoena. Well, Fani resisted the first subpoena, and now before the Supreme Court, they're trying to figure out, is the first subpoena still valid, or is only the second subpoena still valid? What power does that committee that issued the first subpoena have if that committee is dissolved and now replaced by the new committee for the new legislative session, y'all? Either way, Fani says she is going to testify.
Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis will testify before a panel of state senators investigating her now defunct election case against President Donald Trump. They've been trying to get her in for more than a year now, but the DA claimed they didn't have the authority. On the same day the case was on the docket of the state Supreme Court, the DA said, "I'll come to testify." It was a stunning turnaround, and political reporter Doug Reardon is live at the courthouse to explain what happened. Doug?
You said it, Blair. It was stunning. We did not expect this to happen, and that's because District Attorney Fani Willis has been fighting subpoena after subpoena from this committee for almost a year and a half now. She has not come in as they have really wanted her to. And even though that election case was thrown out just 2 weeks ago, state senators who sit on that panel say there is still plenty to hear from the district attorney.
And as I told you earlier, y'all, they really want to get down into her dirty deeds. You know, they want to make it a salacious moment in American political history. I do think that they negotiated with Fani's attorney about the questions that they can ask, etc. So I don't know how deep down into the weeds, down into them dirty deeds they're gonna get, but she is set to testify next week.
The panel says they want to hear more about her relationship with the top prosecutor on the election case, Nathan Wade, and how the case may have financially benefited both of them.
We want to ensure this never happens again in the state of Georgia.
State Senator Greg Dolezal, who is on the committee and is one of the members running for higher office, said even though the case is gone, they can still learn a lot from Willis's testimony as long as she shows up.
I hope she'll show up. She was committed to showing up before and did not show up. And we need to ensure that Lady Justice indeed keeps her blindfold on. In this case, the blindfold was removed for political and personal ambition.
And in the meantime, y'all, and in between time, Fani and them, they about to be on the hook for $5 million for Donald Trump's legal fees, probably at least another $5 million for the other cumulative, I think 12 or 13 defendants, maybe more. I mean, shoot, 12 or 13 people also had to defend themselves. So you're looking at a pretty substantial bill. Now, I have made a couple of videos about this, and I'll just reiterate very briefly what's happening. The Georgia law says that you can recoup attorney's fees when the prosecution is dismissed due to misconduct, but Fani was removed from the Trump RICO for the appearance of impropriety, or you could say the appearance of misconduct, but no judge ever actually found that she committed misconduct. So that's something I haven't heard anybody address except for Judge Napolitano. He is going to address that briefly. We'll get to that in a few.
Is senior judicial analyst Judge Andrew Napolitano. Judge, always great to see you. Good to have you this afternoon. What is your reaction to the latest information in this case? It could be a hefty tax bill.
Well, it's a pleasure to be with you, my dear friend. Fani Willis's behavior in the case, of course, was reprehensible. She engaged in an inappropriate relationship with the prosecutor. She used state funds to fund the relationship, and then she and the part-time prosecutor lied about it. But the real reason that these defendants can get their fees reimbursed is because the case was dropped. If you prosecute someone and they're acquitted, you don't get your legal fees. If you prosecute someone and they're convicted, they don't get their legal fees. If you start a prosecution and cause someone to spend a lot of money and then decide you shouldn't have prosecuted them in the first place, bingo, they're entitled to legal fees.
So the number is going to be quite a healthy sum, y'all. $5 million for Donald Trump. And I'm going to estimate at least another $5 million for the others. As I've said before, probably much more than that.
Under a Georgia law that was passed this year, the president, these co-defendants are going to be able to recoup some of the legal fees, the attorney fees that they incurred while fighting this case. How much do you think the president will seek in reimbursement? We don't really know the numbers.
Probably $5 million plus.
So how does all of this money get paid? Does it come out of Fani's personal pocket? Initially, at least, it's going to come out of her budget Okay, it's going to come out of her DA budget. So Fulton County gets a certain amount of money every year. They allot that money to different departments and agencies and etc. And her office gets, I think, $30 million per year, something along those lines. And it looks like maybe 10 plus of that, 10 or more $1 million of her budget out of her 30 will have to go to paying Donald Trump and them back, y'all. So that's going to leave them bankrupt. Let's just keep it real. Her office is going to be bankrupt.
Is that fair to take that money out of taxpayers' pockets when no one really in the general public brought this case, but they will be the ones footing the bill? Do you find that to be fair?
Well, actually, they won't be fitting the bill. Fani Willis's budget that she receives from Fulton County will be footing the bill. That's where the money comes from. There's no new tax on this. Now, could that money be used elsewhere? Of course it could. Who made the decision to use it this way? Fani Willis. So she's going to have to pay for her decision.
I think that's, on one hand, fair. I think to someone sitting in the Fulton County jail for 7 months without a trial because there's a backlog and $5 million could go a long way to fix that. That's who I'm really talking about.
And I understand that, and maybe Fani Willis should have thought about that before she brought this case.
Now, Judge Napolitano actually says that even if Fani Willis were not found to have been dismissed for misconduct, the fact that this case was just dropped will entitle Trump and them to attorney's fees anyway, irrespective of the Georgia law.
So even without that Georgia statute, because the prosecution was dropped by a subsequent DA, all the defendants, including the President of the United States, are entitled to their legal fees. And I think it's going to be an even larger number than Trump's lawyer suggested.
Wow. Well, Fani Willis got booted off the Trump Georgia case for hiring her boyfriend and now has to face an all GOP Senate committee on December 17th with Democrats crying witch hunt. So, Judge, I'm going to ask you to play politics a little bit here as well. How strong is the evidence that Willis actually broke the rules in terms of the Democrats' narrative or wasted taxpayer money, as you just mentioned?
It's very strong. I mean, the judge in the case that removed her for misconduct actually did her a favor. He could have turned her over to be prosecuted by her own office, or actually another DA's office would do it, for the misuse of funds. She escaped this by the skin on her teeth. She really should have been prosecuted, and in most cases, she would have been disbarred.
Now, I did some research, and I could not find anywhere where just because a prosecutor drops a case after they were prosecuting a criminal case, that would entitle the defendants to legal fee recovery. I haven't found that. Now, yes, when there's a statute or law, like has been passed in Georgia, you can recover or at least pursue your legal fees per the law. But Napolitano says absent, even irrespective of a law, they still would get their legal fees. I haven't been able to verify that. So if you have additional information about that, drop it down in the comments. And finally, y'all, this is going to sting. This is going to sting Fulton County. If they get that 10 milli, 15 milli, 20 milli, whatever it comes out to be, it's going to hurt.
Yeah. On the same hand, President Trump claims to have all the money in the world, be a billionaire. Is this more out of principle, do you think, for him?
No, I think the money needs to go back to those who have put it together to pay for attorney's fees. Now, President Trump may have the money, but we're talking about the other 15 defendants who are going to be seeking their reimbursement and have gone through for the last 2 years. It's been hard on a lot of those individuals, and I think the law is there. The law should be used, and the money isn't going to go into President Trump's pocket. It's going to go back to those people who helped pay for the defense.
So yeah, y'all, Fani, she's in big trouble. I do think, and I made this prediction earlier, I think that the trial court is going to look at this. They're going to look at the law. They're going to say, again, why was Fani disqualified? Due to the appearance of impropriety, due to the appearance of having done something wrong. And I think that they're going to look at the law, and the law says if the prosecutor was disqualified for doing something wrong. And they're going to say, well, we don't know if Fani actually did something wrong because there's never been a determination as to that. So I cannot grant the legal fees. I think that's what the judge is going to say. Now, if Fani's lawyers frame everything correctly, it's possible they can prompt the judge into making a ruling. Did she do something wrong or not? I think they're going to have to get that ruling from a judge in order to get that 10 millis, 15 millis, 20 millis, whatever it comes out to be. I think it's an easy out for the judge to simply say, hey, no judge ever found she did something wrong. They only found that it looked like it. And that's not the same thing necessarily. The law says that she has to have been removed for doing something wrong. And then, y'all, if you really a law head, a legal head, check this out. This is how these things multiply in complexity. What if a judge does find now that Fani did something wrong? What if they say, yeah, we can see it. She did something wrong. Well, she could still argue, even if I did something wrong, that wasn't why I was removed. I was removed because it looked like I did something wrong. So you could still have that conversation where even if she is determined today to have done something wrong, you can't go back in time and make that the reason that's why she was removed. She was removed because it looked like it. But then the plaintiffs, the people who want their legal fees back, will say, well, she looked like it because it was true, right? She was doing something wrong, and therefore that's why it looked like it. Okay. So this thing, I feel like this litigation is going to be, it's going to be a multi-year thing, most likely. And then you have to ask the question, are they entitled to the legal fees that they spend trying to get the legal fees back? Because they're going to spend money trying to get these legal fees back. They're going to spend some hundreds of thousands, if not, maybe not millions, but they're going to spend some hundreds of thousands of dollars fighting Fani to try to get the millions. So do they get that money back? You see how this stuff gets crazy? Let me know what y'all think. Y'all drop a comment down below in the comment section. But before you do, please stop, hit the share button. Share this video out over email, text message, WhatsApp, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, all your favorite social mediums. And of course, if you're not a subscriber, please do subscribe. Thank y'all for watching. Love y'all, and we'll see you back in the next one.